Hello everyone, and this is Priya Patra, and I am the Vice President Outreach of the PMI Mumbai chapter, and we are back again. And this time we are going to talk something very exciting: sustainability, social responsibility, and project management. And as you know, ours is a chapter collaboration initiative, and we have around 24 chapters on this platform today. And I would like to introduce my co-host of this event. We have Robert from Zimbabwe chapter. Robert, would you say hi to everyone?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to this session. Thank you.
And we have Damike Mendes, our chapter leader from Sri Lanka chapter.
Hello everyone, I'm Damika from Colombo, Sri Lanka chapter.
So how is the situation there right now in Sri Lanka, Damike? Are you all safe, sound, happy?
Yeah, safe, and we are under curfew. Government is changing. Let's hope for the best.
Good luck, Damike, and I hope things turn out good as soon as possible. And we have Achilles from PMI Greece chapter. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name right.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult. Hello, everybody. It's a great honor to be here and be a co-host. So I'm looking forward to enjoy, this beautiful topic.
Yeah. All right, over to you, Achilles, then.
So welcome everybody to PMI Chapter Xchange, Season 3, Event 1. And today we discuss sustainability, social responsibility, and project management. Today we have PMI friends from different chapters. Allow me to name, there's so many, so I will start, name some: Indonesia, Kujata, Zimbabwe, New Zealand, Phoenix, Czech Republic. We have Netherlands, Sri Lanka, South Florida, United Kingdom, Peru, Sao Paulo, Alberta, Ghana, Greece, of course, Phuket, Alaska, and we have Bangladesh, Nigeria, and UAE. So thanks everybody for being here, and thanks all the other chapters that I may miss someone, and thanks for supporting us on this initiative. So please say hello to each other and start continuing networking while we get started. Today I'm really honored, and we are excited to announce that we have 1,800 registration from across the globe, and we have 49 countries to be precise. So everybody from Alaska, New Zealand, and all other countries, countries between. Thank you so much, everyone. And this is actually a really warm response to this initiative. And actually, we are very proud, of what we have managed to deliver today. So let us know better, where we're joining from, right here. So please go to www.menti.com, right? And please insert the code. I think Priya will share her screen also. You see the number is 30799605, right? Again, it's menti.com, and then you have to use the code 3079, now seeing our screens, 9605, right? Please, everybody, that the meeting is being recorded. If you are uncomfortable with in any way, you may choose not to attend, else you are more than welcome to continue. And every here is this event are speaking on our individual capacity, our views, do not represent our organization in any ways. So thank you, everybody. More than happy to start this great topic.
Yeah, thank you, Achilles. And yes, I have put the poll Menti code on the chat as well. And please do take the poll and let us know from where you have joined in. And over to you, Damike, now.
Okay, thanks, Priya. Let me introduce Agnieszka Maria Gasperini. She's the board director, Project Management Institute. So Agnieszka is a multicultural, passionate volunteer and leading expert in project management. Over the past 15 years, she has been teaching, advising, and coaching project managers and executives around the world, focusing her expertise around European Union development projects. Her work, articles, and overall contribution to the profession have been recognized with several awards, including the PMI Distinguished Contribution in 2012. Ms. Gasperini is the CEO and founder of Project Management Consulting, formed in 2003. The firm was one of the first consulting and training firms focused on project management established in Poland. She is an assessor of EU projects, serving the European Commission and local governments since 2007. Mrs. Gasperini has been a speaker at forums in over 20 different countries. Since 2010, she has been part of the faculty of Warsaw University and Business Schools. Ms. Gasperini has been an active PMI volunteer for more than 18 years. Is a PMI Poland chapter founder 2002 and has served as both president and vice president of the chapter from 2008 to 2012. Ms. Gasperini was raised in Poland and lived in Italy from 2011 to 2017. She speaks Polish, English, Spanish, Italian, and conventional German and Russian. Her hobbies include dancing, Argentinian tango, and playing the saxophone. With this, I hand over the session to Agnieszka to start our event. Over to you.
Morning, good afternoon, good evening. I can see that there are a lot of people around the globe. Amazing initiative. Congratulations to all organizers. And yeah, this is amazing that being online, we can have people from so many chapters, from so many countries, and share our experience. Although I hope that I will see many of you during the first Global Summit, Volunteer Summit, which will be happening this year in November. So finger crossed that many of you will be able to do that. Now, let's try to share my presentation. I just needed the permission. Priya?
Yes. Yeah, Sunil will give you the permission. Sunil, can you give the sharing right?
Yes, done.
Done.
Okay, let's see if I can do that. Okay, I think we've practiced that, right, Priya?
Yeah,
let's hope, because now I don't see. Okay.
It's there at the bottom of your screen.
Yes, I can see that, but for some reason it's not changing. Nothing is happening.
It's okay if you can just talk about it. That's fine.
No, you need to see the video. You need to see the slides. Give me a second. You can take a joke, and I need to change something in the preferences, which is not allowing me to share, right?
It just reminds me, Agnieszka, you know so many languages and you worked in so many countries. So, you know, our attendees can ask questions in their native language to you. Isn't that cool? So,
yes, but please be kind for me.
Yeah, that's very, you know, we are very fortunate to have you on this event today. You speak Polish, English, Spanish, Italian, German, Russian as well. That's so amazing.
For good. I used to speak. Okay, guys. So my system is not letting me show my screen. That's strange. It worked before.
Sometimes WebEx do act up. So if you want to, you know, send the slide later on, we can share with our attendees and you can just talk about what you wanted to talk.
You know what? Let's do it more easy.
Someone else can share.
Yes, I'm sending you PowerPoint because it's very heavy. It's a pity because there is a video, but we can send
Videos won't work.
won't work. Okay, that's a good message at that point.
Okay, so I think we will move ahead, Agnieszka, because we don't want to.
Yeah, I have only a few minutes, right?
So let's talk. Your message is more important to us, and you can send the slide. I will share with the attendees in due course of time.
Okay, guys. I don't give up. I will speak fast and give me one more second. And all right, so nobody want to talk any joke.
We've already done that. I can move on to the next part where we will talk about our logos while you want to, kind of try to start sharing.
Yeah, that would be great.
I will need the sharing rights now back. Sunil, let's give it back to me. And I can talk about our logo while Agnieszka figures out how to, share the screen. And there we are. We will be, I wanted to talk a little more about how we are evolving. We are learning, unlearning, and relearning. And this is how we started in 2020. This logo was designed by PMI South Africa chapter, and then we evolved up to this badge, again, keeping the logo intact, and then we created a badge, and these are all the chapters who are part of this event today. But soon we saw that we are running out of space. So to make this more scalable, we are now today like this. And this is again a joint effort of Puget Sound chapter, South Africa chapter, and Indonesia chapter. And of course, I didn't do anything much, just give some ideas. But this is how we are evolving, and that's why you see a new logo at the on our flyers and on our event materials as of now. Just a quick recap, these are all our chapters who are there on this platform today. And we've already named them, so I'm not going to name them, but definitely we want to encourage people, encourage chapters to join us and be part of this initiative. Agnieszka, are you able to share? Or
so you have Priya, you have PDF in your email, so you can share it, and I will just tell you which slide.
While I try to take Agnieszka's PPT, I will request Anisha Ahmed, the president of the PMI Bangladesh chapter, to talk about the chapter and why she chose to join this program. I will introduce her before that. And just to let you know, Anisha is a very active volunteer. She is the president of PMI Bangladesh chapter. She has 14 plus years of experience in business development, strategy, project management, marketing, business research, consultancy in ITS and power generation industry. She is working as a director and strategy and business development for Diesel Power Services Limited, and which is a company with 80% area coverage in Bangladesh and over $20 million project delivery every year. She is involved in volunteering since ages, even before I knew about PMI, maybe from 2013 with Bangladesh chapter and with PMI Global since 2015. And why we are talking about Anisha and the PMI Bangladesh chapter is because Bangladesh chapter is the spotlight chapter of the month for us today. And that's why Anisha will introduce us to her chapter and the unique initiatives that are going on in the chapter today. Anisha, before I hand over the session to you, I have two questions for you. We are a global audience. We are curious to know what is the time right now in Bangladesh?
Time. It's around 8:15.
8:15, 1-5?
Yeah.
So 8:15 p.m. and the date? You have to specify the date as well, because for New Zealand it's already the next day.
Yeah, so today is 13th May and
Okay.
8:15, so 2015 PM. So
Okay, 2015 and May 13th. Okay, great. I'm also in May 13th, but I'm in 1945, which is 7:45 p.m. Okay, now you look at the logo which is there on the screen, and that's the logo of your chapter. What does that symbol specify? The other three quadrants we all know about is PMI. What does the fourth quadrant specify?
yeah, so this logo is very emotional and special to Bangladesh. And there was a language movement in 1952 where the Bengalis fought for their native language, Bangla. And this is a symbol for the respect to those who lost their lives in those movement in 1952. And this is a monument for us, and this is called Shohid Minar. And this gives me actually a very proud moment, because the designer, the architect was a female and a male, but they both together did it. So Hamidur Rahman and Nover Ahmed were the names. And this specify, you can see like there are some bars, smaller bars and a bigger bar. So the bar actually specialized, the bigger one is the mother, and the smaller ones are 4 children. She's like holding them, as we actually symbolize that the children were the who fought for the movement. And there is a circle over there which calls a new beginning, a sun, symbolizes a sun. So this is actually a very interesting logo for us. That's why we thought to put in our Bangladesh chapter logo. Yeah,
Oh, great. So that was the answer to my question. Now over to you, Anisha, to talk about your chapter and introduce your chapter. I'm still waiting for Agnieszka's PDF to come
Yeah.
through.
So yeah, about PMI Bangladesh chapter, I see a lot of people joining today from around the world who are PMI Bangladesh chapter members and was ex-board members as well. So it's a very special event for our Bangladesh chapter as well. And about Bangladesh chapter, we are one of the fastest growing chapter in South Asia and also in Asia Pacific. Because from starting in 2013, we started with less than 100 members. Now we are 400 plus members in Bangladesh, and it's one of the emerging economy around the world. And it gives me another proud moment to share that last year we became one of the best performing chapter in South Asia. So our retention and membership are growing really high despite of the COVID and all. So thanks to our volunteers, thanks to our members, thanks to our board members for giving us the support and inspiration to go forward to it. And about unique initiatives, we can always see that PMI Bangladesh chapter is very active, and I'm shaking hands with Priya to get on board at the chapter exchange program as well, because we thought it's an excellent initiative that is that's run by this whole team. I've been following them for more than 1 year time, so it's like a very glad moment for us to be on board. And in Bangladesh chapter, we are doing a lot of initiatives, especially with the youth impact, because we have done a lot of MOUs with the academic institutions over here, and we are providing a lot of resources and support to all these students to get into the career as the project management. This is one of the great initiatives. We provide mentoring programs. So a lot of like mentors around the world provide these sessions with our mentees. And also, we are very interested with the SGD. So this is a very special session for us because we seriously see the SGD goals as our objective. And for our members, there are exclusive sessions. There are like exclusive benefits for all the events and all. And we try to be connected with them every time, like on every Zoom call, say every session, that we get to know each other. So the networking thing, we have given a top priority for our chapter. So Priya, I think I can speak about it for hours and hours, but I have a limited time.
Sorry about that. We'll have a different session for PMI Bangladesh chapter to talk about the chapter, but definitely thank you for joining this this platform. And as you rightly said, Bangladesh chapter is one of our fastest growing chapter, and we are definitely very excited to have you on board. Agnieszka, I haven't received your PDF still, so if you could.
Okay, you should refresh your email because you're supposed to have it with 2 different emails. I will start speaking then. I don't want to, destroy this beautiful event. You try to connect. If no, then later you can share the presentation with participant, and also I'll send the link to the beautiful video.
Okay, I got the PDF, but the video may not work. Okay, so
yes, the video will not work. So that's another story. All right, let's start. Start. So today we want to talk about the sustainability and the way how PMI is looking at this topic, why there is a lot of changes. Right, so if we go to the next slide, a few words around the future. We see a future in which more people than ever will benefit from cultivating project skills, especially as work increasingly shifts to focus on projects more than lifelong employment at a single one organization. The very structure of career paths are changing to a much more non-linear format as talent move from project to project. Individuals will need to tackle diverse global challenges and have a broad skill set. And you probably are familiar with our refreshed talent triangle. I will mention a little bit. Next slide is talking about change makers. When you can see some numbers and some statistics at this slide. At PMI, we call this expanded pool of professionals change makers. And today, as we understand change makers, they will need to keep investing in their skill sets, in new skill sets, including project skills. We see that reflected in studies from leading organizations globally that closely partner with companies on their talent needs, like PwC and McKinsey. There is a lot of different researchers. Today, there is an enormous need for continuous lifelong upskilling and learning, and that's why where PMI plays critical role. The next slide, it's supposed to be video, but we will skip that one. So the next slides will show you a little bit our awareness of different examples of what is happening in the world. We certainly need change makers given the scale of the world's challenges today, including major threats like climate change and sustainability. We so often talk about climate change as a challenge for some distant time or future generations, but we are increasingly finding ourselves in a world of present-day consequences. As the magazine The Atlantic recently reported, the maximum temperature last month in New Delhi, home to more than 30 million people across the metro area, average more than 104 degrees. Even higher temperatures have been reported elsewhere, and you can definitely talk more about that like you are living in this side of the world. The next example, which is the next slide, just an example of many different projects focused on helping the world prevent the worst effects of climate change, brace for its impact, and help the world live in a more sustainable way. Right in Kerala, the world's first airport, fully powered by solar, is set to move from this current status of being a power-neutral airport to a power-positive airport, generating 200,000 units of power each day. Amazing things. The next slide is just a quick reminder that in PMI, we are doing quite a lot of different researches why global megatrends 2022 is putting together some important topics. PMI conducts our own assessment of all these most urgent long-term trends around the globe. Everything from climate crisis to sufficient demographics to the latest breakthroughs in technology like artificial intelligence. Next slide will show you the area that we are focused on: digital disruptions, climate crisis, demographic shifts, economic shifts, labor shortages, and also civil, civic, and equality movement. I really encourage everybody to read this report, which is really interesting and also is sharing a lot of insight. The next slide, the foremost among the mega trends, the climate crisis, which is exacerbating inequalities, but it's also a call for creative new ways of making life on this beautiful planet. Projects to address this have been innovative and driven by project leaders who can envision the benefits of the effort. So tackling such a complex challenge will involve all sectors of society, our government, businesses, civil society, and especially project professionals who are going to need to prioritize incorporating sustainability into all of their project processes. PMI is helping to get project managers more engaged with this challenge by a recent strategic alliance with Green Project Management Global. It's a social enterprise helping drive sustainable and regenerative development practices. You can find some more information, of course, at our website. Then the next slide, still talking about mega trends, where we say the world's major nations have pledged action to reverse the course of climate change before it's too late and the worst consequences take hold. One unexpected silver lining of the pandemic was thought to be the lull we temporarily saw in carbon emission from fewer people traveling. But in fact, the World Meteorological Organization found rising concentration of greenhouse gases in 2000 and 2021. Clearly, we have to step up our game given the amount of emissions that are already baked into the future. The US and the EU have committed to carbon neutrality by 2050. China was pledged to the same by 2060 and India by 2070. That's the vision and that's the goal. But the really challenge will be in implementation. So world leaders have pledged action and they need to implement plans to achieve its urgent. There are some numbers at the next slide that we can see. One unexpected silver lining of the pandemic was thought to be the lull of temporary emission from fewer traveling. I mentioned about that, I'm repeating that, and that's important. If you go to the next slide, what we need to do now. The economist Chris Goodall released a book that heavily criticizes the current state of government action on the climate crisis. The overwhelming consensus from the scientific community is clear that carbon emissions must be dramatically lowered now, and we must transition to wider deployment of sustainable energy in order to meet bold targets set out for the world to achieve in reducing emissions by mid-century. But what is lacking today is exactly where the project management community can add enormous value, in laying out clear plans, metrics, and milestones for meeting this ambitious target. And at the next slide, you can see some areas that we are looking at and should be in our focus. So if we go, Priya, to the next slide, global trends like climate change are driving a renewed emphasis like never before on environmental, governance, and societal ventures. Over the course of the pandemic, virtually everyone has taken a step back and assessed how their work reflects their values. And that includes the C-suites, who are increasingly not only focusing on profits, but also on the planet itself. It's a shift in focus and emphasis that is long overdue, and hopefully it's not too late. PMI is on its own journey to drive greater social change, and we can be proud of the results so far, including rallying our global community to volunteer their time and talents to goals aligned with the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, including Goal 13, Climate Action. So next slide, I was mentioning at the beginning our talent triangle is refreshed number of skills that we need to possess in different 3 areas. That's why project professionals will be more crucial than ever in the years ahead in helping the world tackle the crisis. And it will be more crucial than ever for organizations to upskill and professionals to keep investing in their own development. The ideal skill set, the PMI talent triangle, is a combination of skills. PMI developed the triangle as a framework to help project professionals map the capabilities they need. And we have recently evolved it to reflect some of the skills we've touched on today. Because, and this is really important, in the future, it will be the professionals that develop and refine this skill set who are best equipped to act as transformative leaders in their organization. So just few quick takes away I would like to leave with you. And please go to the next slide. Upskilling is an imperative for individuals. Prioritize power skills. Use the approach that fit best for your context. For example, agile, hybrid, etc. Projects are how work gets done. Change makers require project skills. And with that, I would like to finish and finalize with the word empowering people to make ideas a reality. Thank you very much. I know I took a few minutes longer.
But the message was bright, loud, and clear. Very good messaging and very well aligned to the theme of the event today. Thank you, Agnieszka, for your time. And with this, I think we will get right away to the panel discussion, the discussion that we are waiting for some time now. So before that, let me introduce someone saying something. Please mute yourself. Let me introduce Dr. Lynn, who is our session moderator of the day. Dr. Lynn, obviously I know her for a long time now, and she was the past president of PMI South Africa chapter, our second partner on this program, and was instrumental in getting this launched. So obviously Dr. Lynn is very close to us and to this program. She is an international expert in strategy, project management. She is an author, speaker, and you name it. And her focus areas are on adaptation, emergence, resilience, co-creation, sustainable international development. And she has many publications on sustainability, resiliency, project management, and leadership, and many more. She is an experienced speaker, author on project management strategy, as I said, value creation and sustainability. She has presented at numerous conferences project management research as well as practitioner conferences, including the European Academy of Management, International Research Network on Organizing by Projects, and the PMI Africa Conference. She has spoken to Africa's contribution to project management, knowledge, ecology, sustainable development, benefits creation, and use of project management to enable indigenous communities to access open innovation for local value creation and empowerment. She's a guest editor of Project Management Journal Collection, is a reviewer, serves on the editorial board for the International Journal of Project Management. She is also an adjunct professor of Schema Business School for Project Management for Competitive Advantage. Well, I could go on forever and ever and ever because her resume, her profile is so illustrative. But I would request everyone to, go and visit her LinkedIn profile, connect with her. There's lots to learn from her. So with this, Dr. Lane, I'm handing over the session to you to, kickstart this amazing panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Priya. It's been such an honor to be part of this PMI Project Exchange since 2020. It's been a great experience, and I'm very happy to moderate this session on this such an important topic as sustainability and sustainable development and what our social responsibility is. If I can start out, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. If I can start by saying that social responsibility for ensuring that business has a positive impact on sustainability is ever present for corporations, governments, non-governmental organizations, and their projects. Sustainability can be a fuzzy term with many definitions. It is a term rich in complexity, multidisciplinary content, values, ethics, participation, and social equity. It has a large spatial and temporal orientation. The concept cuts across geographies and time, the present, medium term, and long term. And all of this impacts how we implement this social responsibility. But at this point, what I would like to do is to have the webinar participants respond to our Mentimeter survey question. Our question 1 is sustainability only about our impact on the environment? And then after you respond, we'll take a look at that.
Yes. May I request the poll master to put the poll for everyone to take it? Yeah, the poll is there on your screen. Please do take the poll. Is sustainability only about our impact to the environment? And while people are taking the poll, we can move ahead and talk. I'm taking the poll right now. Yes.
Okay, very good. The United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development report, which was released in 1987, often referred to as the Brundtland Report or Our Common Future. This report defines sustainability in terms of the process of sustainable development and distinguished it from the sustainability outcome. According to the report, sustainable development is the process of development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This definition left much to be interpreted at the macro level and micro levels of sustainability. That means the global level, regional, national, and local levels. The report referred to 3 sustainable development pillars: economic development, environmental safeguards, and satisfaction of social needs, which had been outlined in a previous book, Limits to Growth, in the 1970s. The Brundtland Report defines sustainability as the state of the sustainability system. That is the outcome of the interaction or the process, the interaction process of human systems. And now we have to include artificial intelligence systems with the environmental system. The state of this sustainability system is in continual flux along with businesses. Most recently, corporations are integrating the ESG policy and framework, that is the environment, social, and governance policy and framework, to help them to address sustainability issues in more specific, measurable terms. The regeneration approach to sustainability looks at the holistic view of living systems with transformational change across all levels of society and the environment. This approach is also gaining ground. So, how are these various sustainability definitions, policies, frameworks, and approaches influencing how sustainability gets integrated at the project level? What can project managers do to ensure that projects, as the creators of value, can address the ongoing sustainability challenge? How can we carry out successfully this social responsibility in the corporate, government, and non-governmental organization space? Do we have any response yet to the survey that we can show?
Yes, Girish, I'm not able to see the answers to the survey. If you can let us know what our audiences think about our first question. Is sustainability only about environment? My answer was no, because I knew about the dimensions of sustainability. I wanted to know what everyone else was thinking.
Majority have selected no.
Okay.
Only few selected yes. Only 11 out of these many people.
Okay. So out of 400 people, 11 people said yes and rest said no.
Rest said no.
Okay. And did anyone say don't know?
Only few, around 30-40 people told don't know.
Okay, great. That means we are aware what sustainability is all about. Dr. Lin, over to you.
Okay, very good. So let's talk a bit about the attitude toward projects. The attitude toward projects and sustainability. The attitude towards the role of projects and project managers in ensuring sustainable development and sustainability is changing. Previously, most practitioners viewed projects as not being able to address sustainability concerns due to the project's short-term nature. This has definitely changed. Projects, they're executors and formulators of strategy and value creation for the company, government, and organizational investments are now viewed as key players to ensure sustainable development and sustainability. So today, we will explore what project managers can do and how we can prepare ourselves for this sustainability integration challenge in projects. We would like to start by asking our esteemed panelists 3 questions to establish a foundation for the discussion. Okay, so here we go. The first question is, how do you define sustainability and sustainable development from the project and project management perspective? And related to this, do you see any dimension as more important than the other? So that question is, how do you define sustainability and sustainable development from the project and project management perspective? And do you see any dimension as more important than another? So I can't see everybody on the screen, but maybe we can start with Nurul.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lane, and thanks a lot for putting my name on at the first. Yeah, as we understand, the general perception was that the environmental kind of thing is only the sustainability, which is somewhat partially true. But the sustainability, in a way, has 3 dimensions. I say environmental, social, and also economic. So your project has to be taking up equal importance to all of these dimensions to make a project socially viable, environmentally viable, and economically also acceptable and socially acceptable as well. In a way, once you are going with the social and environmental, then it should be like acceptable in terms of environmental and social. Although when you are going with the social and economic, it should be equitable, and again, environmental and economic part, it should be viable. So you cannot just look at that kind of more emphasis on any of the factors, but of course depends on the project, depends on the client. You have to put more emphasis on some of those things where others are a little bit late. But in a way, you cannot keep any of them out of that. Like if you are working with the public sector, Now here issues are completely different than what you are working with the private sector. And once the social community is completely engaged with your project output, the social output, social aspect should be more emphasized. But in a way, I'm trying to say that you should not just skip any of them. And there are minimum threshold that you have to manage once you are moving on with any project management. Over to you, Dr. Lee.
Thank you so much for that explanation. Can we have Christina Barbosa?
Thank you for the question, Dr. Lin. I think that project managers have a huge responsibility to understand how they can put objectives, sustainable objectives in their project, start then with the objective to generate social, economic, and environmental impacts, positive impacts. The key, I think it's to understand what is material or relevant for the organization that is executing the project. And this understanding will lead the project manager to understand and to design the project, trying to put indicators to be generated during the development of the project and or in the results of the deliverables of the project. So they need to understand what creates value for the organization, and this means any type of organization, public, private, or governors or NGOs, but understand how they can contribute for the sustainable development in the world. So I think they need to prepare themselves to understand this context, and then they would be able to contribute and to improve their role as project managers too.
Okay, thank you very much, Christine. John McVeigh, if you can contribute to the question.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Lin. So as project managers, I think it's important for us to look at influencing how we approach the project from start to finish in order to get the optimized results. And optimization varies based on project and project location, geography. If we use sustainability, environmental, social governance as some of the measures for our success, I think a project manager can visualize what is necessary in order to get that as optimized as possible. You know, in some ways we're restrained by the economics of any particular idea. And so we have to look for ways to get that competitive advantage when executing projects within those constraints.
Okay, thank you very much. In fact, everyone to a certain extent has touched on the next question, because we talked about a minimum threshold in terms of looking at the various dimensions, and the rule said that all three must be considered, but at times there may be more emphasis on one or two than all three, but there's a minimum threshold of attention that needs to be paid. Christina talks about the importance of starting with objectives and to understanding the social, environmental, and social impact of the project, and to understand what is relevant and to design the appropriate project indicators, plan and indicators. But so the next question is, what do you see as the relationship between corporate strategy and the integration of sustainability and projects to ensure sustainable outcomes? And related to that, how can the business case for sustainability be created for projects without this relationship? Should I repeat the question? Yeah.
Please.
What do you see as the relationship between corporate strategy and the integration of sustainability in projects to ensure sustainable outcomes? And can you develop a business case for sustainability for projects without the project's strategic relationship with corporate strategy? Who would like to start that?
I can
Maybe.
I can start as I
Okay.
have contributed to the first question. So I think we also missed to do quick introductions. So I will pick
Oh,
up.
sorry, Natalia, I'm so sorry. This answer, we have to go to Natalia before we go to the second question concerning how do you see sustainability and sustainable development at the project level.
Introduce yourself before answering the question, so that people know where you are from.
Right. So let me very quickly introduce myself, and maybe my fellow panelists can do it when taking the next question, so our participants know who they are having to get here, and what is our role, and why is this topic so dear and so close to our hearts. So I have worked for many years as a project manager in one of large financial institutions in Germany before I started my own consultancy and coaching business. So currently I'm mostly contributing in my way as a business coach, as leadership coach, and as a team coach. So I work with individuals and I also work with teams, also with project teams. I'm active volunteer and active chapter member with chapter United Arab Emirates and with German chapter. And this topic sustainability is obviously, it's not one-dimensional and it's not from project. And what Dr. Lin mentioned at the beginning, that obviously, project has this kind of like short-term character, and sustainability is something that impacts us and our next generations. And usually we think in like very long term, 7 generations. Is this what we are doing today? How is it going to impact the next 7 generations? And what happens often, unfortunately, in project management is that projects start when all the goals, the stakeholders, even the team, even the success criteria are already set. So if we work in an organization or in organizational culture where sustainability is on the organizational agenda, where it's part of the corporate strategy, going to the next question, what Dr. Lin has posed, then it's easier for a project manager to live that sustainability thought in the project, and to assess the project as being sustainable, as results being sustainable for the next generations. But it's not the case. Project managers often see themselves as in a given situation that they are trying to do their best, that they are trying to optimize resources, right? And optimizing resources is just, thinking, okay, this is my box and these are my resources that are allocated to me and that are available, that I can make use of. And what I as a coach do, coaches expand thinking. So what I as a coach do are saying that this is not the limit, this is not the limitation, and it comes from within. So the topic where I come with sustainability and help project managers, organizations, but we are talking today to project management managers and with project managers, is the sustainability mindset. Is helping project managers, in this case, to understand that we are part of the system, that it's not the trade-off between factor 1, saving the planet, or factor B, I don't know, alleviating poverty, or factor C, decreasing waste, or different aspects. They see this as a system. Yes, so going back to the question, how is corporate strategy integrates with sustainability? When it is integrated, it's easy because that's the strategy. And that's what the project manager can, how he can align probably with the deep values for creating or leaving this world in sustainable condition. So it's easy. When it's not, project managers from their position, that they are, they have the capacity to influence the system from within. Everyone has the capacity to influence the system from within. It doesn't have to be a project manager. But the higher you are, and project managers are in these situations, are actors with a lot of leverage in how they execute those projects, in how they engage their stakeholders. And we are talking not about only, the sponsor of the project as a stakeholder or the customers as stakeholders. We're talking about the system. We are talking about the planet, the animals, the plants, the indigenous communities that will be deprived of fishing possibilities as part of the system. So the systemic approach is so crucial and so important, just to help to understand. So that's how I see that and how I contribute to the world being a little bit more sustainable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. This initial question is, Natalia, sorry that
Don't worry.
Overlooked you in the beginning.
No problem.
Okay, some very important issues have come out that relate to the next questions, but very importantly, what has come out now is that within an organization, if it doesn't have a focus on sustainability or sustainable development, it's very difficult for a project manager to integrate that into projects. But a very important point that Natalia made is that it also is a sustainability mindset of the project manager. So let's kind of go to another question in terms of what is stakeholder engagement in project management, okay? Because when you look at sustainability and you also look at projects, stakeholder, we call it management, I'll call it management for stakeholders, is a very important part of project management and projects, where when you're trying to create value, even value for the corporation, you want to understand and ensure the objectives of the stakeholders are involved. But when you're talking about integrating sustainable development, you're really talking about integrating this very pluralistic view of what sustainability is. Even with a sustainability mindset, different people have different approaches. So a question for the panelists: how would you, if you were a project manager and your parent corporation, or even, let's say most projects have multiple corporations involved, if it's not of an internal business project, how would you as a project manager, and how would you advise project managers to actually utilize that engagement with stakeholders to bring out the key issues in sustainability and to influence the whole project management process from beginning to end? Who would like to start with that?
May I?
Yes.
Okay, so do I need to introduce myself here?
Yes, please. A short introduction, because and then your answer. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Lynn. And this is Nurul Alam. I'm working as a resilient infrastructure specialist for Asian Disaster Preparedness Center. I'm leading one of the sector, resilient transport sector, which is a bank-supported project in South Asia. So it's a climate resilience and climate enhancement program in South Asia. While looking at all these questions and discussion, I found it very much relevant what we are right now doing with the governments itself. And for me, the stakeholder engagement should be starting from the very initiation of any project design, whether you go somewhere else. And you have to understand that what is the main agenda coming out from the stakeholders, whether you just push on some projects on them, push on some new innovative technologies which they are not well aware of, which are not well available over there. that starts with your sustainability itself, because once you are looking at the locally available materials, locally available skilled labor, if we talk about construction, if we talk about other things, then you are already reducing your carbon footprint. So you have to keep it in your mind once you are looking at all these things. And again, you have to look at, you have to talk each phases of the project to the stakeholder to understand their need, their future need, and also educate them for the future. Like now there's a mega trend that we just looked at, like now new terms are coming out with this climate resilience, with this time horizon, like whether people, they are thinking about next 5 years, 50 years, or 100 years. And whether the project which we are looking at, are we looking at the scenarios after 50 years, or we are just looking at those 30 years or 5 years. And the stakeholder engagement would be very useful over there. First of all, of course, you have to do some sensitization with them, because the people, you may not just think that everybody knows everything, and these trends are completely changing, the technologies are always changing. So we have to educate our stakeholders and then make sure that their views are already included in the project, so that you can sustain your project in future. And when you can get this project, once you just close up your project, that this project will be sustainable and then moving forward. Just a few pointers here. Thank you, Dr. Lin.
Okay, thank you very much. Natalia, I'm going to go back to you quickly.
On the same question, which was how can we engage stakeholders for more sustainability in the projects? I would like to talk on the idea of Mr. Nurul about educating. So project managers, again, they do have more power than they think. Not power in terms of, you know, like making things happen directly, but indirectly through the stakeholder engagement and through educating them, and through helping them understand what impact they are creating and what impact they potentially can create. So it's expanding that thinking how this project is going to contribute to the world being a better place. How, you know, in sustainability, like for example, if you help people see what actions, which consequences they have, then you might help to think differently. It's part of education. I'm a very experiential educator and learner. So for example, if you're in a technology company, right? If you take a video, even, you don't have to take your stakeholders to a garbage collection place. And let's see how their technologies, you know, like that piece of technology, that model from last year is landing there, and how it's sustainable and how it's not sustainable. That it can help create the awareness of that, and think not in the linear way, take, produce, dispose, but in a circular way. How can we bring it back into the circle of production? How can we eject our trash from consumption? How can we help the nature to absorb the effect that we are creating? And when people see, when people understand, I mean, people are not evil. I mean, stakeholders are not evil. They see, oh my gosh, I have not thought of that. So this is something that everyone can do, and project managers, you know, like can help people to understand, and help stakeholders to understand how these things are possible.
Okay, thank you very much. John.
So I'll introduce myself. I'm John McVeigh. I work for a construction company in Alaska and US. And what I have found, one is Natalia's passion is inspiring. So keep that up. You know, she mentioned experiential, and to me, a properly facilitated stakeholder engagement process includes sharing those experiences, sharing those expectations, and each of us are learning from each other in one way or another. I think on one hand, there is earlier in the project is we have way more influence or power as project managers, and it is important for us to start influencing now. My recommendation, influencing the stakeholder engagement, the management of the next project engagement by leaving kernels of what we believe are going to be most beneficial to us as a society, as a community, as a world. And so those kernels experientially can be left behind so that folks know that there is another way, that the box is bigger than they thought yesterday, and that we can make a difference. In construction, I'll caveat that we often have those requirements very well defined, and it's very limiting in the sorts of things that we can do in a competitive environment. Having said that, it is the ability to see how to do it differently. It is the ability to see a different future that makes the competitive environment better for each of us that executes those construction projects. So it takes energy, it takes passion, like Natalia, and it takes groups like this that are so impressive for us to learn, even if it's just a little bit, to learn and grow together.
Okay. All right. Christina.
I'll try to talk from another perspective because everything has been already said. But I think that in the last 2 years, project managers are living with the pressure to inform their organizations about the impact they are doing on their projects. Why is that? It's because the money all around the world is interested in sustainable projects, because they don't want to lose money. The owners don't want to to have risks, so they are pressuring the organizations to show what they are doing about environmental, social, and economic impacts, positive impacts, and how they are minimizing the negative impacts. So as those impacts are developed in the projects, so the project managers are being the responsible for all this information. Those informations are coming out, are being disclosed in reports, in sustainable reports that are on websites, and they are becoming very, very common and very used. So, talking about this perspective, from this perspective, the organizations are changing their mindset. They are being pressured to change the mindset and to link with the other question Dr. Lin has done before. The organizations are being pressured to put sustainability in their strategic plans. So this is something that will help project managers, because they are going to receive more and more projects linked with sustainable strategic projects. So having said that, project managers must be very concerned about those factors, relevant factors that can help their projects, and understand the maturity of the organization in sustainability, and understand the difficulties that the stakeholders may have. So to understand, to be able to provide during the project in different ways education for them. So I think that education is very, very important, but it happens in different levels, depending on the maturity that the organization have, which is based on the importance that the organization gives to sustainability. So, and I forgot to present myself. So, talking about that, I've been working at PMI. I've been working as a volunteer since 1999, I think. And I've been working at the Rio de Janeiro PMI chapter for 5 years, and then for the Leadership Institute and for the Global Accreditation Center for 5 years any. So nowadays I have my company, which is Bicon, and it was born to work with project portfolio and program management, but nowadays we have expanded it to put in one side strategic planning, sustainable strategic planning, and then on the other side how to make project portfolio and program sustainable management. So we have developed a model and a digital platform to help organizations to do that in an agile, simple, and traceable way. So that's what we're doing.
Thank you for that. I know you want to ask questions in the chat. In fact, I saw a question in the chat that is exactly the question that relates to the next question. So if I can deal with that, that deals with the ESG policy and framework. If we can ask that question, okay. So is someone going to read off of the chat for that?
Yes, I can read that out from the chat. It says, how do you integrate ESG factors into the financial analysis of a project?
That's a very good question, guys, because the ESG actually came from, it was a UN initiative under Kofi Annan asking financial institutions to come up with very concrete measures for looking at sustainability. So who would like to start with that question? Anyone?
Maybe
I can do it.
Let me
I'm sorry.
Start with. Oh, yeah, please.
You can go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just try to reiterate. I saw in the chat history also, like some of our participants already tried to answer it, and I will just repeat his thing. Like these are very much important to mainstream in your project itself. That during the planning stage, before you come up with a budget, all these aspects should be there. Like if I'm coming from the infrastructure sector, like if you're planning for any infrastructure, the initial screening, or we call it hazard, vulnerability, risk, and criticality assessment, along with the adaptation options, mitigation options, and everything, that has to be included in your initial budget. Rather, you start the project and then found out that you don't have money to go on to fix all these things. So similarly, other aspects should be there. And for the social and governance, of course, you have to have very intense discussion with the stakeholders. Stakeholder consultation is the key over there. And the environmental depends on, of course, if you have a project which is beyond those threshold limit, of course, you have to do this EIA and others also, along with this initial project screening. So what we are also trying in the countries in South Asia, like trying to help government institute to make their strategic action plan, to include it while they are making any development project, to do this kind of initial screening before they take a decision itself. Anyway, I will stop it here. I think Christina, you wanted to say something.
Okay. If I could build on that, Nurul, for example, in the construction sector, if these elements are not built in at the beginning, when the tender is done, then it's a cost margin. It increases the cost. Well, what it does, it decreases the profit margin for the contractor if then they suggest to the project owner that there's a better way and more impactful way in terms of sustainability to do this. So John, I'm gonna pose this question to you. How would you deal with those ESG guidelines in terms of the whole process of construction project management?
Thanks for putting me on the spot, Dr. Lynn. I love it. This is what we do, right? We're managing expectations, we're managing deliveries, and we're trying to, for us, we're trying to make a couple bucks at the same time. And it's a challenge. And I think that's why I like what I do. So when we look at this, in the US, we have a lot of requirements, a lot of laws, a lot of minimum expectations, right? And for me, when we see value opportunities, we do present those. For example, it's important for us to understand or promote something that has a longer life cycle or that has less operational expense or cost. So the operational cost or risk could be in all sorts of things in the ESG environment. So it's difficult to, once it is tendered, for us to make a huge difference. And that's where we really are trying to leave the impressions for the next one. And I've been in PMI since something like 2004, and it's progressively elaborating with something that was big back in my day, right? And we are progressively getting better, doing what we can within the constraints of the rules, within the requirements, and trying to highlight that if there is a trade-off, that we give more value to certain elements that are within the culture of the stakeholders we work within. And that is a lot of words that don't quite address it, Dr. Lynn. But what I'm really trying to say is it's a juggling act, and to fully meet our sort of passions, our visions within this environment means that there are other elements that might suffer some. And the optimization to me is a multi-dimensional analysis to find the optimal outcome.
Okay, thank you for that, John. Sorry to put you on the spot, but this was especially a question for the construction industry, because it does have very strict, narrow parameters once a tender is done. We have another. Oh, go ahead.
Make a really quick contribution to that. So what I'm hearing is that obviously once we have set that brackets, then it's little room for maneuver for project managers. We were talking how sustainability and project management or projects is linked to strategy, and how can we influence stakeholders, and obviously how can we learn from project to project. And another aspect that I would like to highlight is that we seem to, again, be going into the bracket, how do I optimize? How do I trade something which is bad for something which is less bad, or the other way around? And how do I put it in the books so that it fits the parameters? Okay, so if you take the different perspective, if you take the perspective of how do I show it? How do I bring the sustainability effect? How do I show the long-term impact? How do I show the circular economy? How do I show the opportunities? Not how I, within the limited space or budget of the project, I'm trying to put the check marks, right? It's not, our brain is thinking in two different ways, either away from threat or towards a reward. That's the only two ways our brain can think and operate. And when we are thinking away from a threat, and this is the way of thinking away from a threat, how do I optimize? How do I make it just match? How do I close the project? How do I just jump to the next one and hopefully the next one is going to be better? It's very difficult for our brain to create creative solutions that are impactful, that are, again, it's inspirational. I don't want to be here inspirational, but this is the way of thinking from inside, you know, like I'm not limiting myself, but I'm looking for those opportunities, and they are abundant, they are everywhere. If you just turn your view on how can I show the investors what can be done, how can I show the investors the potential impact to humanity, you know, social here, sustainability projects are in, sustainable investors are in. If you can convince them that this is the thing that's gonna help, I don't know, reduce pollution or reduce garbage or reduce the methane emissions, you know, they're on with you. They're gonna give you money. So.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have another comment on that question before we move on to the next? So what we're hearing is that project managers really need to be strategists, contextual learners and teachers, influencers, in order to not just for the present, but bringing this learning into the future. Okay. So we go back to something else that was said earlier, that the sustainability system is constantly evolving. What is happening today will be definitely different tomorrow. It may be in the same context, but it could be exacerbated. There could be other factors that come in. We have a question concerning technology. And it says technology changes with time. How can it be adapted easily in terms of sustainability? Because there's this whole question of the need for constant innovation. Anyone want to address that?
Well, I let someone else go before I go.
Anyone? You know, the sustainability system is constantly changing, and there's a need to adapt. If I can read something for you from someone who's an ecologist, and I really love this statement, and I've used it many times. It says sustainability is the capacity to create, test, and maintain adaptive capability. Development is the process of creating, testing, and maintaining opportunity. When you put those two words together, sustainable development, it means the goal of fostering adaptive capabilities while simultaneously creating opportunities. How would you relate that to integrating sustainability in projects? And this also relates to the question concerning technology constantly changing. Should I read this
very short
statement?
one?
You're okay? All right.
Who goes?
You want me to read it again?
Go on.
Okay. Sustainability is the capacity to create, test, and maintain adaptive capability. So adaptive capability relates to sustainability. Okay. The term development is the process of creating, testing, and maintaining opportunity. So when you bring those two together, it means the goal of fostering adaptive capabilities while at the same time creating opportunities.
Well, I think that the key is again on stakeholders integration. Project manager doesn't know everything. I think that the best capability is to know how to integrate different specialists and to take the best from them. So if you are, you can do that. If you can make all of them engage, they will be specialists, then they will be following all the technologies evolution, and then they will be able to contribute to the project, giving their knowledge and their understanding about what are the best alternatives to develop the project. But I think that the main role of the project manager is to understand how to make them put all their knowledge on the behalf of the project.
Anyone? Oh, Natalia.
I just make a really short one. So sustainability, the definition of sustainability, as you have read it, is capacity to create, test, and implement adaptive technology, right? The adaptive capability. So I would like to highlight the word capacity, this capacity, this is endless. If you tap into that capacity, then there is no need for innovation. Again, like this limiting mindset, there is need for innovation. We have to catch up. We have to meet the goals. We have to meet the budgets. But what if there was opportunity for innovation? What if there was opportunity to create something that can change the way we do something that's not being done well today? Not only optimize, but in take this opportunity to do something great, not think in terms of limitation, but think in terms of capacities, amazing, outstanding capacities of human intellect, of human potential, of all those stakeholders that we can just bring on board, awaken their own passion, their own purpose, and let them do it.
Dr. Lin, just to add over there itself, like as I can directly agree with both of the panelists here, like stakeholder engagement, effective stakeholder engagement is the key for sure. And engagement, I'm not saying only the consultation. And why do you say engagement means you have to train them, you have to capacitate them to take a decision. And as long as the project is not going with any mission, project mission is not going in any drift, within the project scope, we should find out like what kind of innovation can be adopted to. Like I have a lot of experiences, like while I was working in Pamir area, like it's in Central Asia, while the construction windows are very small, and then you cannot just decide on that kind of structure where things will take 1 year of time. So you have to then right away decide in a different opportunities, different innovations, but all the way you are giving a structure. And that where we found out, like once you train your stakeholders, your decision makers, your clients about new innovation, how to take that innovation and how you are approaching being a project manager to them is a big thing. And again, of course, the strategy, the mandate of the client, of the stakeholder is also a big issue. Yeah, but it's actually very common, like the technologies are changing. That doesn't mean that we are changing our view on it. We will be adapting to it as long as our stakeholders are being trained, being capacitated to take a decision on it. I'll stop here.
Okay. Anyone else have a comment on that?
I can make a little link with the G of the ESG. The G is governance. And governance means boards, politics, procedures, methodologies, and everything that will allow the project manager to work in a sustainable way. So if the organization doesn't have, please, project managers, develop it in your project. You can do that. So in your methodology, put something related to sustainability. You are going to start a culture in your project, and then this can be spread for all the organization. But this is the G of organizations. This is what the financial sector wants to see, that there are governance related or sustainable governance to support the results they are expecting.
Okay, so, well, we've talked about the importance of being adaptive. We've talked about the importance of the sustainability mindset. We talked about, Christina's just talking about the importance of the policies and procedures, et cetera, in an organization. And also someone, and Natalia talked about the power of the project manager through engaging with stakeholders. Can we ask a question about co-creation? Because this goes back to stakeholder engagement. It goes back to the fact that sustainability, the concept itself, does not have a one definition. that people have different priorities and concerns. We have a macro level concern of climate change, okay? But how it gets manifested at the local level can be very different in, let's say, Burkina Faso than in Brazil or in Japan. So I want to ask a question. How can a project manager, in addressing the micro sustainability concerns, initiate a co-creation process with stakeholders to address these concerns? A little difficult question, but it's a co-creation process in managing the project, okay, in order to obtain the sustainable outcome of the project that serves not just the corporation or organization, but also serves the community and the society. This is a big part of social responsibility. Anyone want to try?
Well, I'm sometimes I feel a little bit nervous about
That's
this
okay.
point. Yes.
We're going to build on each
Because-
other's comments.
Because there are so many opportunities to do that. And I think that people have difficulty to think out of the box. So they do to change their mindsets. Well, I've already talked about materiality. So this is what is important for the organization. So if social aspects are already included in the organizational materiality, okay, it will be easy. But it is not. I think that project managers can hear from the stakeholders how the contributions can improve social positive impacts. There are a lot of ways of doing this. For example, if we are in a training project, why not put some vulnerable people to participate and to gain knowledge too, without paying for it and without generating cost as well. So this is a very simple example. We don't see that, but there are a lot of others opportunities, alternatives that can be used, and some of them can also lower costs. For example, here in Brazil, we have in events, people used to contract the food and the beverage from companies, but there are a lot of new companies from communities, from vulnerable communities that have a very, very good service and lower cost, lower price. So it's a matter of changing the mindset and look for other alternatives. So again, I think project managers must want to hear and must want to change the way they do projects.
Anyone else? Natalia?
Sure. So we talking about no boxes, and now I'm going to talk about boxes. So, as Christina very rightly said, you know, like there's so many opportunities and there's so many possibilities and there's so many ways that we might, as a small project manager, feel overwhelmed and not be doing anything because there are just too many. So important is to find that one initiative that you can do and contribute just there. This initiative is a wonderful initiative for creating sustainability awareness for the 400 participants who are listening to us today in 49 countries. And if they take one thing out of this webinar, this event today, and go to their stakeholders and go to their project teams and ask one question, we have already created 400 actions. Just think about it. And then if we repeat it, or if any of us, beyond asking one question, has found one initiative that they want to start, just what impact can we do? And obviously, all those things that we, like can educate and can bring people, those are those initiatives that each of us that feels connected to that initiative for their purpose. And I see purpose as not something that you have given from above that you have to, I don't know, to find or to create. Is something that you have your skills and you have your knowledge and you have your experience, and you can give it to the world to make a difference. So this is my definition of purpose, and everyone every day can do something with their knowledge and their skills to make positive contribution. Specific, right? So again, we're putting it in a box. What have I done today? What have I done last year? Reflections are very good measures, like not only for projects, but also on like the personal impact. How have I helped for this particular project to be more successful, more sustainable? How have I contributed to convince a specific stakeholder not to use that resource, but the different resource that is biodegradable, and feel good about ourselves and keep doing it. Yeah.
Dr. Lynn, can I just
Yes,
add
yes, Nurul, go ahead.
Yeah, because I can see like Natalia or Christina already covered a lot over there. I just wanted to say that once we go, I like this word co-creation and the word we use co-production along with the client, along with all these things. Like not you are giving something to them and they have to just accept it. We co-produce all those things. Anyway, before going there, you have to present some scenario to the leadership of the organizations, of the stakeholder where you are approaching to. And it should be top-down approach and bottom-up approach both. Like, what if your project is, you didn't take care of the sustainability on your project, what will happen in next 5 years, in next 10 years, before you go on? So this kind of sensitization, I would rather say, starting on the project proposal itself, putting up all the project results framework or the theory of change, whatever you are coming up with, you have to do consult with your stakeholder first, sensitize them that if not, then what will happen. And once they are on board, then you move it on. That would be the anyway the perfect scenario, but there are other scenario, but we can look at it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on that question on the co-creation? If not, let's move on to innovation. We have a question in the chat concerning innovation, and it's basically how can a country, or I should say a project manager, be innovative? But he was talking about specifically Latin America in terms of some of the critical issues that many countries are dealing with in terms of poverty and other issues. But the question is, where there are very limited management skills, how is it possible to be sustainable and innovative when there's not possible for governments to manage basic needs of populations? I would add to that, in this case, in terms of sustainability and projects, and given the fact that things are constantly changing, how can the project manager bring an innovative approach? How can a project manager be innovative in addressing these issues? I think we've touched on it a little bit, but maybe we can develop it a little bit further. And these can be simple ways of being innovative. Natalie did touch on something, but do we have something more we can add?
And I'll take a stab at this one. And so this is John. In the innovation is something that I think project managers strive to do in all of the elements and all of the dimensions that they go for. And if we can put those in the ESG kind of context, there are opportunities to innovate that require someone, unfortunately, unless you're an NGO, right, somehow to afford to sort of put the catalyst into that innovation. So working in impoverished areas, it can be a little work to train, folks who haven't had that training or that familiarization with the process, take a little bit upfront cost, but given the life cycle of a project, give them better outcomes on a financial basis, while also leaving behind a more educated and more skilled workforce. But one has to be willing to risk doing such things, because typically as a project manager, there is a budgetary side to everything that we do, and we must consider that in some way. So for me, the innovation comes at some sort of a way to have a competitive advantage. And in my project worlds, projects are typically 1 to 3 years long. That gives us 3 years to make that impact that we desire. And 3 years is not a long time to address the world's issues. But it is time, like Natalia said, to have an impact on one or many that also have an impact on one or many, and have that cascade off.
Thanks, John. Anyone else want to add?
Yes,
Natalia?
So obviously one project is not enough, and projects are closed and bound, and at some point they have to come to an end. But if we take that perspective, lifetime is not enough, to change the world, to make the world sustainable. So we do what we can with the tools we have and the knowledge we have. And I would like to, there are many projects, many like innovation projects for third world countries or in third world countries. And I would like to give an example that was a person that I personally got to know from the Philippines, and he was presenting his innovation, a big project here in UAE in the Expo, 1 liter of light. So he was creating light lamps from very basic materials that he can find in any, like even any garbage collection place. And he was traveling around the world and teaching people in poor communities to create those lights, like if they have an earthquake or if they have, tsunami, whatever, that they can, and they have no electricity, that they can create very easily those lights and have light. And this is an innovation, and this is a great example that does not really need much. I mean, he got, like later he got investors' money to enable him to travel to those remote communities and start creating this impact. And obviously, I don't even know, are there studies that show the correlation between where innovation actually happens? Like if we have everything in our life, all our needs have been taken care of, is that when we're most innovative? I don't know. We have to have something that we want to innovate on. We have to, to have some need, some imminent need. And again, back to the networks, back to cross-cultural collaborations. That's what sustainable investors do. They look for communities, or they look for projects, or they look for underprivileged places, like that they can educate kids, or they can give microcredits, or they can help those people to innovate and to become self-sustained and self-sustainable and create impact.
Okay, thanks so much. Priya, do we have time for the next 2 survey questions?
Yes, I was just about to tell you there are a couple of questions on the chat which I posted on the WhatsApp. We have to take those questions, and then we can go ahead with survey question.
Okay.
So if you can put the second question poll.
Okay.
For our
Can I read the chat question on the subject of innovation?
While we put the poll, let's put the poll first, and Yes,
okay.
Now we can go ahead. And,
Okay, on the subject of innovation, what is the best way a PM can introduce innovation in a very bureaucratic government organization? That's a challenging question. Governments are very strong bureaucracies. Okay, anyone want to try that?
Can you repeat, please? I was
What is
answering.
the best way a project manager can introduce innovation in a very bureaucratic government organization?
Mhm. May I have that?
Okay.
I can link with the other one. Well, I think that talking about Latin America, as the last question was based on, governors can facilitate very, very much if they have politics, if they have discussion about sustainability and how to improve it in the country. But we need to understand that innovation is based on solving a problem in a different way. So this is what is about innovation, not to become a startup and things like that. Sometimes people relate that word innovation with this, being producing a new product. So I think that when we are talking about innovation, we need also to understand that organizations don't live in their own context, in their own environment. They relate with other organizations, different organizations all around the world. So they need to understand how they can innovate to respond for the demands, the global demands. They need to give response. So it's important to understand that if you are an organization that it's in a country that has a lot of bureaucratic, a very bureaucratic way of doing things, your organization can work more quickly in this way of becoming sustainable, because it may be is being demanded by global pressure to give more positive impacts. So I think that this is a very important factor to fast organizations way to be more sustainable.
Anyone else would like to add before we go on? And I think it's time almost to wrap up, right, Priya?
Yeah, so we have the answers to the poll where we talked about whether sustainability is a cost or a value. So many 124 people said that it can be a value to the corporate, but many people have not answered the poll. No one said no, so that's where we are while you move ahead with the discussion.
Yeah. So that's very interesting because we talked about the importance, the panelists spoke to this, about the very initial processes of developing a project where the project manager can have a very key strategic role. And it's actually in integrating these aspects of sustainability in innovative ways. And as Christina said, it doesn't mean creating a new product or startup. It may mean just doing something in a small way, as Natalia said, that's different, that impacts how resources are used or has a positive impact on the community. And this needs to start at the initial phase of the project. I think many times what companies do is they start looking at it far down the way where the costs of instituting something that has a more sustainable outcome, the cost goes up rather than thinking about it at the initiation of the project and in the business charter, as we spoke about. So how do you think we can use the business charter to address this issue of sustainability being increased cost center for the company versus increased value? Because all value creation has a cost. So does anyone want to address this?
Take a stab, Dr. Lynn. So I think, right, I think you sort of brought it all together for me pretty well. And oftentimes in the construction world, we are implementing the same practices that all many project managers use, but it's 15 years down the line from where we could have had a better, greater impact on the outcomes and on that value creation. And so our hands are not tied, but at the same time, we do have a limited influence at that point. So my suggestion, I'm sort of tying this to some governmental bureaucracies, is to vocalize these expectations and have that shift, that change, that open mindset start impacting them as well as those executing the projects on behalf of a government or an organization.
Thank you for that. Can we, what I'd like to do in wrapping up is this. Can we ask our panelists, I would like to ask our panelists in a very short statement for you to tell us from your point of view, what competencies, or let me say, not that, what competencies does a project manager need in order to carry out this social responsibility to integrate sustainability in projects? I think this will help our participants to understand what additional training or orientation they need to have, etc.
May I?
Yes.
Okay, just to add to the last comment, last question also, like because I'm fully engaged with the bureaucratic government in these countries, and a major issue you find it they are quite strong and adamant not to take a new innovation anywhere, and I'm completely agreeing with that. Innovation is not something new, but you need to maybe customize from other region to this region, and that is an answer for that Latin America itself. What is the way of going on is to connect your new product innovation to the global mandate, national mandate, and the organizational mandate, to show it that this is very important, and also show them a proof of concept or the future scenario to show that what is the value addition coming up if you are putting up on your project. So you have to, again, all these things are coming up on the sensitization, capacity building and all, where we come up with the project manager who should have the skills of partnership building, skills to involve key stakeholders, awareness about the social, economic, as well as the environmental aspect of any project, and aware about clients' mandate and priorities, so that they can make any project much more sustainable. I'm stopping here.
Okay, thank you. Any, so we can have the other panelists speak to what competencies our project managers need to develop or have in order to carry out this social responsibility at the project level.
I should say empathy and collaboration. They need to be very focused on here and understand others' needs to transform it in alternatives that can have more positive social impacts, and collaboration to improve them, to put them in practice.
Okay. John or Natalia?
Yeah, I'll go. So I think really the two key ones are interpersonal skills, really the way to mobilize the team in that common direction for the project that we're managing. And I think that we talked about collaboration, and I think being passionate about where you're headed in this way certainly helps. The second one is systems thinking, being able to see how things interact with each other, not just today, but in the 5-year, 20-year, and 100-year time horizons.
Natalia?
Yeah, so my thinking goes in a similar direction. So it's influencing how you can help people see a better perspective or a new perspective that they have not seen before. So influencing, I mean, influencing is a very powerful skill if you master it, but it relies on your good intention. So self-awareness and going deep and down into yourself and knowing your best intentions and go and act with those best intentions that can create impact.
Okay.
So self-awareness and influencing.
Okay, thank you very much, Natalia. Priya, there is one last question. That is, what are the major aspects for a project to be sustainable? That's the survey question. You could probably wrap up from there.
Yeah, Girish, if you can just put this last question, because we don't have time, just quickly put on this question. Yes.
Also, there were a couple other questions in the chat that maybe the panelists can answer, not now, but after, and those answers can be compiled.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. So, Girish, while Girish is putting on the poll is there. I think I'll take this opportunity to thank Dr. Lin for conducting such a wonderful, discussion, and all our panelists for sharing their insights from all across the globe. Thank you very much for your inputs. And Girish, you may stop the poll and we will see the answers because we don't really have time. And we will we'll just discuss for 1 minute what the answers are, and then we'll move on to the next section. Girish, if you can hear us. Okay, so since we are really running out of time, we'll have to stop here. With this, I will hand over the session to Robert to do a quick wrap up. Robert is our chapter leader from Zimbabwe, and he will take us through the key learnings of this event. Robert, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Priya. What I can just say that it was quite an insightful discussion, and quite a number of issues we unpacked today that's touched on issues to do with occupational safety on projects, health, fair and or unfair business practices, governance, customer relations, community development and involvement. And also what emerged from these discussions is that if I can make a quote from Abraham Lincoln, it says, if you are given 6 hours to chop down a tree, what do? You spend 4 hours sharpening the axe, and then spend the 2 hours, chopping down the tree. This goes to the need for project managers to do a lot of planning so that they incorporate sustainability issues in their projects, so that they do not look at immediate benefits, but those benefits that are deferred, that run across many generations to come. And at this juncture, I would like to thank all the panelists for their contribution. That was quite insightful. And I would like also to thank Sunil for the WebEx administration behind the scenes, and also for the mic for the social media posts in the run-up to this webinar. And I would like also to thank Pedro for all the analysis that went into the preparation for this webinar. And also there was some questions regarding the PDUs, and I'm sure Priya, you shared that in the chat in the chat that this will be shared. This has already been shared, and also after this, we would want also your feedback regarding this discussion on sustainability and how it impacts on our project implementation going forward. On that note, I would like to thank you all, and over to you, Priya. Thanks.
Yeah, so thank you, Robert, and that was very well summed up. A heartfelt thank you to all the attendees who have attended this session today. We thank you for giving your time and attention. And with this, we wrap up our season 3, event 3 of Chapter Exchange. We'll be back again next month, and next month it will be something unique. We will be talking about project management in extreme conditions, like a pandemic, like a war, so many things are going on in this world. So what if you were a project manager in these extreme conditions? That would be the topic of our discussions. We've already have finalized 2 panelists. We are looking for, 3 more. And, I am sure that's going to be very exciting as well. And till then, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Everybody.